sparked his obsession and explains the alien looking out from the side of Bigelow Aerospace. It made for the kind of conversation you don't ordinarily have with an accomplished CEO.
Do you believe in aliens?
I'm absolutely convinced. That's all there is to it.
Do you also believe that UFOs have come to Earth?
There has been and is an existing presence, an ET presence. And I spent millions and millions. I probably spent more as an individual than anybody else in the United States has ever spent on this subject.
Robert Bigelow's quirky, and he knows it. But when you have as much money as he does, no one, not even NASA, seems to care.
By 1998, the NIDS team already had 78 incidents from the vicinity of the ranch, including 11 nuts and bolts structured craft reports, as well as a few dozen orbs of different colors.
We have once again found ourselves in the strangest season of the year. The leaves fall from the trees, the nights are growing longer, and the feeling of change lingers in the air around all of us. Fall brings with it the celebration of the dark, the strange, and the unusual. And I have a particularly strange overland trip planned ahead of me. I'm double checking my supply lists, inspecting my gear, and packing my camera equipment. Because where we are headed is one of the strangest, the darkest, and the most documented paranormal sites in all of the United States. Stories are produced from this place that sound like some of the most horrifying encounters that you could imagine. And what truly separates this place from every other haunted location you've ever heard of is that this place is being studied by the Pentagon. I plan to visit Skinwalker Ranch on this very weekend due to the moon phase being in our favor for sky watching. What I didn't realize until later was that we were heading out on Friday the 13th and that this weekend is also the Ring of Fire solar eclipse. Tomorrow, we intend to view the solar event, meet up with some friends, and explore some trails. We will be aiming to find camp relatively early so that we can get familiar with some special equipment that we brought along. Courtesy of my friends at the Tactical Night Vision Company.
So we're about an hour and a half from when the eclipse is going to be happening, but we need to drive a little farther south. That way we can get the perfect viewing position. So we're going to meet up with a few friends after that, check out some trails, and then tonight we will spend some real time getting acquainted with the night vision, and then we will be ready for the next couple days, which is the very exciting part. You ready to get out of here? You ready? Are you ready? Come here.
sun looking like a moon. That is cool. Whoa, it just got so much darker and colder. Weird. So because we're not in the exact path of it, it's gonna kind of come down and like do a little twist and then come out the other side without it 100% eclipsing. But we are pretty dang close to where you're supposed to be to see a full eclipse. So it'll either probably go tiny sliver, or we might see something close to a full eclipse. It's starting. Look at my shadow.
Oh, cool. The shadows start to get manipulated.
Get manipulated to all look like little crescent moons, which is so crazy. Ooh, it's getting close.
I bet the ancients freaked out about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I bet the first time they saw it, it was like the world was coming to an end.
Well, that was pretty cool.
That was very cool. It's so interesting to see all the colors come back.
Yeah.
It's like, take for granted how vibrant our world is, really. It's beautiful now.
We've got a really cool trail to do today here in the San Rafael Swell. So we're gonna go meet up with everybody, and I'm looking forward to doing a little bit of trail. And then tomorrow, we're heading straight towards Skinwalker Ranch. FJ's leaking oil pretty bad. I had my skid plates off.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
leaking it and burning it, huh?
Yes, sir. I'm not far away from an engine. Okay, so we've met up with Jesse and Michaela. Apparently the rest of the crew didn't make it. It's just us for the night. So we're gonna find us a cool campsite.
Ooh.
Oh, it's starting to look like another world.
We aren't wasting any time getting started. We're eager to see this section of trail that we've never laid eyes on, and this area is known for being some of the most beautiful desert terrain in the country, if not the entire world. But instead of trying to put it into words, I'll just let it speak for itself. This trail is about 45 miles in its entirety, and due to time constraints, we only plan on stopping at one place along the way. The place that we want to stop at is two large black masses that Jesse spotted on the maps. He suspects it's an old coal mine and wants to stop and lay eyes on it. While an old coal mine didn't sound too interesting to me, now that we're stopped, I understand Jesse's attraction.
Well, that's a good one.
This entire area, which appears to be abandoned, is riddled with large crystals. Load it up.
Let's go look at him. This is the biggest one. I gotta get all the dirt off it, but oops.
Don't worry about my car. As cool as this stop was, we need to get moving. We want to cover about another 10 miles tonight, and we want to do it before sundown. Adventures in the backcountry like this blow my mind every single time. I'm sure a large portion of those watching this will find inspiration to visit Utah. Unfortunately, there are groups actively trying to close areas like this down, so subscribe to the channel as I will be covering more on how you can help in future videos. We met a fellow off-roader that warned us of a few vehicles that turned around at the upcoming water crossing. It doesn't seem like the water would be very deep this time of the year, so we're going to take a look for ourselves.
What's the worst that happened, man? Hold my beer?
The water is the color of sand, so it's not apparent how deep it is. We gonna make it, Jesse?
I think we're gonna do just fine.
Our water crossing partner is checking out the depth of the stream and quickly proving that other travelers had nothing to worry about. Sometimes deep water looks shallow and shallow water looks deep, so it's always best to check before driving through.
It's pretty hard packed like that is.
I usually enjoy a good water crossing, but I have to admit that I'm glad that this one hardly slowed us down. I'm looking forward to having as much time at camp tonight as possible. Unfortunately, some people have been abusing the privilege to explore land like this and ignoring basic principles on where they can park. Some places along the trails here in the desert look like designated campsites, but a single set of somewhat fresh tracks doesn't make it so. And with over 300 miles of trail currently being shut down in nearby Moab, we are being particularly careful on where we set up for the night. And this spot doesn't look like the one. And just a short ways up the trail, we've found one of the most beautiful campsites that we could imagine here.
You filming how us fours do it, Tyler?
That's right. With the tents now set up, we're gonna watch the sunset while I secretly start baking something special. Because a certain someone had a birthday just a few days ago.
Approach the vehicle. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jesse Burline. Happy birthday to you. Blow out your candle, wish for aliens, Jesse.
Oh, I will. You ready?
Yes.
The whole world's ready.
Oh, there's gonna be aliens now, I know.
This is Jesse's first time with fresh baked brownies at camp, but it's also about to be his first experience seeing the stars with night vision.
Very excited about this.
You don't look at his red light that he has.
Oh shit, sorry. Forgot
Double,
That is
right?
incredible. No, it's more than double. It's way more than double. Wow, you can see there's just like levels of the Milky Way. It's crazy.
Really?
It is. It's crazy.
I can't wait to own my own night vision device so that I can share this experience with everybody that I camp with. To see the stars in this way is amazing and hard to put into words. Modern night vision amplifies what we can see already and also allows us to see wavelengths of light that are not visible to the naked eye. Over the next few days, we're going to get extensive use out of these devices. And even if we don't see anything unusual through them, I'm still going to enjoy every minute of it. This is probably the best time of the year to visit this part of the country. The light is soft, the nights are cool, and the days are warm. But unfortunately, today we don't have much time to enjoy it. Natalie and myself need to head north, while Jesse and Michaela have a 7-hour drive home.
You got one kibble left, just eat it.
We have about an hour of trail time ahead of us, and then we'll air up the tires and head our separate ways. Today has gotten off to a solid start. The temperatures are perfect, the views are spectacular, and we are excited to make our way towards Skinwalker Ranch. On a day like today, what could possibly go wrong? Jesse has a puncture in his sidewall, so this tire is totally done for. Quite honestly, it's astonishing that I've never seen him get a flat before, because he tends to be the person in the group to go the hardest.
I'd honestly feel better working around those things. They're expensive.
Now that we have the death trap high lift holding the truck in the air, it seems that we have another problem.
Do I need to go up a little bit?
I don't think this is gonna fit over your cap, your axle cap. That won't fit over your...
Well, can I borrow your tire?
Yeah, I suppose you're gonna have to.
Jesse's spare tire doesn't actually fit his truck. We're checking the rear end just in case it's a little bit different than the FJ, but I don't have high hopes here. We have to accept our defeat and dismount the FJ's spare tire and put it on the Tacoma. We're going to get off the trail and hopefully find either a wheel to match the tire or a tire to match the wheel.
The thing about Hanksville is Hanksville had like an off-road culture.
Due to the time frames that we have, Hanksville and Green River are our only bets for a tire.
So what size tire is this one?
He's got a 34, but he's got full tread, so it's probably about the same, honestly.
Okay, so we are going to load up and go try to find Jesse either a wheel or a tire, and we'll see how that works out. It's a Sunday, and then we're going to make our way to the Uinta Basin.
Jesse did have a 5th matching wheel and tire on the truck, but it was stolen a few years ago. He bought an old used Toyota wheel, but just for the wrong generation. As we continue the final stretch towards pavement, it's tough to see how epic this area is and to continue to drive away from it. But the next chapter of this adventure is making it easier than it normally would be to leave this magical landscape behind. Yesterday's eclipse was unique, last night's stars were incredible, but it wasn't very weird. And we are pretty excited to start the weird.
Okay, so we are now headed towards Skinwalker Ranch. It's almost 4 o'clock in the evening. We planned on getting out of here much earlier than this, but with the tire situation, we're trying to figure that out so Jesse could get home safe. He ended up having to take my spare, And luckily my tires are newer because I'm anticipating not having to use my spare tire. But either way, that held us up a little bit, but now we're headed that direction. So we're gonna be getting there close to sundown. And anyway, we gotta go up and find camp, and we can just start peeping at the stars. So
Start peeping.
yeah, so we'll get the night vision out as soon as we get there, set up camp. The journey continues, and now to the objective of this trip, and that is trying to spot some weird stuff flying around in the sky again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see.
Yep.
Okay, so we've made it to Skinwalker Ranch, or at least the outside of it. Obviously, we're not allowed to go any farther. So the thing is here is you can't actually go on the property. It's privately researched and it's privately owned, so we can't do anything here. But what we're doing is we just kind of want to check out the place since we're here and see it for ourselves. We're actually going about 15 miles north of here, and there is camping up there that overlooks the Uinta Basin. And so we're gonna get out the night vision, and we're gonna be able to overlook the ranch. And so we're hoping to be able to see things that are flying around, because those have definitely been captured on video here. And even the locals in the town have seen lights and stuff flying around with the naked eye. So I'm hoping with the night vision we can see something cool. And again, I do have this hooked up to where we'll be able to record it on our phone. So if we do see anything cool, you'll see something cool. And I know the research that they do here, they're not going to be doing this time of the year. Most of those guys have gone home by now, so they're not going to be shooting rockets off or doing any of their own testing, I don't think anyway. And usually that's kind of what seems to stir up some of the activity out here. But we're just hoping to see something cool. So laying eyes on it is pretty cool. Look how pretty of a ranch it is too, especially this time of the day. Pretty awesome.
It's kind of spooky already.
From the start, we had the intention of only stopping here for about 10 minutes. For one, I'm sure we aren't the first to drive up here, so it must get annoying for the property manager. But two is the absolute fact that a lot of animals have died on this property under wildly strange circumstances, and some of those animals were dogs. You probably think that I'm being far too paranoid about our 14-year-old pup that's along for the ride with us. But after you hear some of the tales of things that have happened here, perhaps you'll have a bit more sympathy for my concern. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased a 512-acre ranch with dreams of having a place to raise cattle. Immediately after taking ownership, the family started to experience poltergeist-like activity. Unexplained lights and aerial objects in the sky, mysterious, shadowy figures and humanoid entities, cattle mutilations with precise, surgical-like incisions, cattle appearing in locked sheds, crop circles and unusual symbols appearing in the fields, objects seeming to move on their own, strange animals and wildlife reactions to unseen presences, and radiation burns and physical ailments after exposure to certain areas of the ranch. By the time they decided to sell the ranch just 2 years later in 1996, the entire family was sleeping in a single room of the house. Billionaire Robert Bigelow, an owner of Bigelow Aerospace, had gotten wind of the strange events happening on the ranch. He purchased the property with the intent to have a live-in laboratory, and Bigelow himself funded the project until somewhere around 2007. Around that time, Senator Reid initiated ATIP, or the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The program granted $22 million of research money into the strange occurrences happening throughout the United States, including Skinwalker Ranch. After 20 years of ownership, in 2016, Robert Bigelow sold the ranch to a then unknown individual under the guise of adamantium real estate. After having his own experience of high strangeness, Brandon Fugel, a self-made millionaire, stepped out of the shadows as the new owner of the property. He immediately improved the living quarters on the property and moved in a team of various scientists. The research is documented on the controversial and sensationalized show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. While Skinwalker Ranch seems to be a focal point of strange activity in the area, the entire Uinta Basin has an extensive list of unusual sightings. While this area has stories that go all the way back to the 1700s, it wasn't until the 1950s that it was truly documented. In 1951, a man by the name of Joseph Hicks, a science teacher from the area, started keeping track of the unusual activity. By the 70s, he had around 400 cases that couldn't easily be explained.
We have made it to our overlook of the Uinta Basin. We're up here on National Forest land, and of course we couldn't camp on the actual ranch, nor can you get very close to it because most of it is native reservation lands. So as I was looking through maps and Google Earth and stuff, I found this spot which overlooks the whole area. From up here we have a top-down view of the area, including the ranch. I think the ranch is about 10 miles as the crow flies, so we can see the same airspace. So all of the weird stuff that they see over that ranch, if any of it's going on with our night vision technology, we should be able to see it. So we're really grateful for the Tactical Night Vision Company for lending us these things so we can see which ones work best for us, and it just worked out really well for this weekend. We're using a combination of about $15,000 in equipment to be able to see any unusual lights that are flying over this area. So we're gonna spend the next 2 nights trying to capture something interesting on camera. And we're gonna go over Skinwalker Ranch and why it is such a trippy place. Okay, heads up.
Right into the cow poop.
So I need to give another shout out to Tippin Foods with their Outpack meal kits. There's a lot of times you roll into camp late at night and all you wanna do is sit down. So tonight we're not gonna have to actually cook anything, which is very nice. I'm very grateful for that.
This is so cool. I love how there's so many things in here. It feels like a little luxury to have like all the things, to have your appetizer, to have your main course, your dessert, your fruit. I'm like really excited about my little tea tonight. I'm gonna have my tea and my chocolate. That makes me feel luxurious and cute. I'm really interested, and I know we're gonna do this right after dinner, but I also wanna see it during the day too, of like where Skinwalker Ranch actually is from here.
We have been looking forward to dorking out on top of this mountain for quite some time, and the moment has finally arrived.
Looking at the maps here, Skinwalker is that way, straight ahead of us. Right by that orange and white light we see right here.
Cool.
As I mentioned before, night vision tech is expensive. This monocular retails for about $4,000, and the binocular set retails for $11,000. And these sets are on the higher end of what's available, but it's what's recommended for this specific and less common use of stargazing. This technology is intended to amplify dim light sources like the stars to give the user the ability to see across the darkness of the landscape. When you use these to look directly at the stars though, that's when it becomes really special. It's probably an understatement to say that you can see 10 times as much in the night sky.
We've seen a few shooting stars that look like they went down into the ranch area. But I saw that kind of my peripheral.
There's 3 stars over there that are just so damn bright, and you cannot, they're just as bright as all the other bright ones, but you can't see them with your naked eye at all. And they're in a triangle above Skinwalker.
This way of seeing the stars is new to us. Night vision picks up infrared light, so there are stars that we are seeing that the vast majority of the human population has never laid eyes on. And because of that, we're having to calibrate our minds to the input overload.
This was over here forever. This is the right side of the triangle we've been watching. Why is it moving?
I don't know.
And really slowly. And then this one.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
They were stationary forever.
And they're not blinking.
They're not blinking.
With our eyes, some objects appear to be moving extremely slow and not blinking. But zooming in reveals that it is in fact pulsating, and perhaps it's just a plane in the distance, which would make it look like it's moving slow to us, while it's actually moving at hundreds of miles an hour.
Into that triangle.
Okay, the one you pointed out that's moving definitely is an airplane. I can see a red flashing light from here.
Why is it staying perfectly still?
Wait, which one's staying still?
The one in the right side of the triangle. I just saw another shooting star like in it. Right here. Right above that.
That one I don't know about.
That one moved into place from over here. And it took the place of this one. This one was stationary.
As much as we want to see unusual lights in the sky here, I want to assure you that we're not here to blow smoke. Some of these are moving pretty slow and they seem unusual, but I'm not totally confident they're anything other than distant airplanes. But perhaps tomorrow will bring new opportunities.
Okay, we are freezing cold, so.
It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold and it's midnight, so we're gonna wrap up here and head to bed. So something to note is the night vision that we have hooked up to the camera, to the phone, and we're recording with is a slightly lesser technology. So the duals that we have we can see even more through those. I wish both of them are that way.
Yeah.
If we buy one, when we buy one, we will buy that version of it for sure. The higher quality. But anyway, it is cold. I'm gonna start up this heater and get the girls up into the tent. So that huge one needs to come over here, right?
Yeah, but I don't.
Dang it. That's a big ass rock. Sniffing. So we're doing our best to look over the basin throughout the day, but as you can see behind me, it is very smoky from somewhere and we're not entirely sure where it's coming from, but it does seem like the wind is kind of pushing it through. So we're hoping by tonight that it's calmed down a little bit because it is definitely not helping our visibility. We're gonna get some beautiful colors here tonight as the sun sets, and then it's time to get the night vision back out. And I think we are both very much looking forward to another evening behind the night vision. And hopefully tonight we see something. So as soon as the sun goes down here in a little while, we're gonna build a fire and we're gonna talk a little bit more about Skinwalker Ranch. Okay, so let's talk about why Skinwalker Ranch is far different than every other strange story that you've ever heard.
The story of Skinwalkers isn't exclusive to the Uinta Basin. It spans all over the country, though it does seem to be concentrated in the desert regions of Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona. This form of witchcraft is a very serious and avoided subject in Native American culture due to the fear of summoning the dark energies of these entities. It's said that to become one of these shape-shifting, werewolf-like creatures, these witches would have had to sacrifice a member of their own family. Skinwalker Ranch, for whatever reason, appears to be a central focus point for some of these haunting occurrences. Some of the locals say that the ridge above the ranch is cursed, while experiments done in the last few years suggest it's due to something even stranger. A wormhole or some sort of portal into another world, another time, or another dimension. Let's visit some of the strange stories on the ranch, and you can decide for yourself. Terry Sherman purchased the ranch in 1994 to raise cattle with his family, and aside from the strange clause to notify the previous owners if they intended to dig on the 500 acres, the transaction went off without a hitch. It didn't take long before the family started to notice strange things happening around them. On several instances, the family saw lights on the property that they assumed were headlights of an RV, but approaching the lights led to something that was shaped more like a refrigerator and took off into the sky. Objects then started to move around the property. On one afternoon, Mr. Sherman was using a 70-pound post hole digger to put up a fence. He turned his back momentarily, and the tool was gone. Weeks later, they spotted it hanging in a tree more than 30 feet off the ground. Miss Sherman claims that once she came home with groceries, put the groceries away, left the room for a few minutes, and came back to find everything was back in their bags. Cattle mutilation was a major challenge for the family, as it was their course of livelihood. In one instance, a calf was tagged only to be found dead 45 minutes later. As with most cattle mutilation, which seems to be a worldwide phenomena, there was no blood on the ground and the eyes and organs were removed. The animal was cut apart with surgical-like precision, all while Mr. Sherman was in the field with his back turned. And the mutilation stories are backed up by local veterinarians in the area. 4 full-grown bulls were once even found in a small tool shed that was latched from the outside. While there are dozens more stories from the Shermans, I will only share one more, and it's the reason that the family finally sold the property. One night, an orb of light was swirling near the ground, and while this kind of activity had been seen before, This time, it seemed to intentionally antagonize the Sherman's 3 dogs, and after it had the full attention of the animals, it shot off into the darkness and the dogs pursued. As soon as the dogs were out of sight, yelping was heard by the family. When Mr. Sherman finally found where the dogs had ran to, all 3 lay dead in dark circles of grass with what could only be described as a greasy mess on the center of each of the animals. After this particularly traumatizing experience, the Shermans sold the property. It's important to note that they didn't make a profit off of these stories. They sold the ranch at a loss, and to this day, they refuse interviews about their experiences. Robert Bigelow's ownership of the ranch is shrouded in a bit of mystery. Some of the stories have come out, but the vast majority of the data is under lock and key. This is likely due to the fact that the government was involved. Bigelow's team of scientists and ex-military studied the ranch for 20 years, and stories of shadow figures, dog-like creatures, and objects flying in the sky have all been shared by those who spent time there. Bigelow does admit that while cameras were installed, it seemed like the presence had a sort of intelligence that avoided detection. Equipment would malfunction and fail at the times of unusual activity. The current owner, Brandon Fugel, and his team seem to have finally captured a lot of the activity on various pieces of equipment. The current team is built of various scientists, including Dr. Travis Taylor. Taylor worked for the Department of Defense and NASA for 16 years and was a scientist for the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2020 to 2021. Using third-party companies for various experiments, including drilling, LiDAR, drones, and even satellites, they've collected evidence that has gotten the attention of Utah's governor, Utah's attorney general, and various individuals at the Pentagon. Some of this evidence includes alloys found during drilling that don't naturally occur and must have been manufactured, GPS devices dropped from helicopters that appear to bounce off of invisible objects, intermittent spikes in radiation levels, and perhaps the oddest of all is in one place on the ranch that consistently provides unusual results. Cutting-edge technologies such as LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar show signs of what can only be described as a wormhole. The Native Americans have long said that this land contains a portal, and to take it a step further and a step beyond my own comprehension is that many scientists consider the concept of traveling through wormholes or even traveling through dimensions to be more feasible than navigating the incredibly far distances of space.
There are a couple things that I'm worried about if these things are real. Try to imagine extra-dimensional engineers who have full access to something where there's no arrow of time. My belief is that we may be looking at something that has access to either 4 or 6 additional dimensions. And again, I'm reading this off of a page of equations and notes. And so you know what they mean in physical reality. In other words, if this thing on the page is true, holy shit.
Skinwalker Ranch has a touch of every horrifying story that you've ever heard. Tens of millions of dollars have gone into studying this place, and millions more are being spent still to this day. Now, does that mean that it's true? Of course not. But it sure does make you wonder. Man-made satellites absolutely litter the night sky. Trying to focus on just a single object is nearly impossible, and we're recording, reviewing, and repeating. Do you see anything moving in unusual patterns that I missed? Or any faint objects flying through the stars? Let us know if you see something that we missed. Coming to this area to do something as strange as this is refreshing. It's a different kind of adventure with a very different goal at the heart of it. And did I actually think that we might see an unusual orb here? Well, I certainly hope so. It's such a foreign concept to most and so hard to comprehend that we actively stop ourselves from even considering these things are possible. What everyone does seem to accept, however, is that every one of these stars is a slight possibility for an inhabitable planet, teeming with life. And some of that life has probably been around for millions of years longer than us. The light bulb was invented just over 200 years ago, and here I am tonight, amplifying darkness through a small tube and recording it on my pocket-sized touchscreen supercomputer that has wireless access to all of human knowledge. So while I try not to commit too heavily to any single idea, I definitely remain open-minded to the strange possibilities of the universe. So we are climbing into the tent because the wind out here is much colder than it was last night. We're gonna continue our search, but we're just gonna look out of the windows of the tent with the night vision. So we are going to set up here, unzip these windows, and just kind of look out either sides of the tent and try to continue to capture stuff. Yep. Skinwalker is straight that way. Mm-hmm. So if she sees something on that side, then, or vice versa, then we'll flip it over and try to capture that with the night vision setup that we have attached to this here tripod. This is basically the rig we've had set up for this with a fluid head, and we can kind of pan easier with this, and it's more stable so you guys don't get driven crazy by the shakiness. And as you can see, Natalie is already fully in cozy mode.
Yep. Right. This is the place of cozy.
The place of cozy.
You must be cozy in the place of cozy.
A lot of shooting stars.
A lot of shooting stars. I thought I saw one that was completely stationary move and then get replaced with one other. I mean, not I thought I saw, I did see that. It's just there's no validation for it because we didn't get on camera, so it's frustrating.
Right. We definitely saw more in Sedona.
Yeah, way more.
Way more very strange stuff in Sedona.
Just kind of crazy. I thought we'd see more here.
Yeah, with the history of the place. I mean, we hoped anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's one of those things whenever you're looking through night vision, because of the way it focuses, all of a sudden you'll see something moving. out of like the corner of the optics, and so then you start paying attention to it, and it's kind of hard to tell, like, hey, was that moving before, or has that been moving the whole time and I just didn't see it until now?
Right, definitely. Yeah.
Still really fun to play with the technology.
Yeah, and I love stargazing, and so it's been just really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Even just stargazing.
Like Jesse said, it's like doing a long exposure in real time. You get to see just everything.
Yeah.
So.
And so many more shooting stars than I've ever seen in one night.
Yep, definitely. Yep, it's like
beautiful.
More than a meteor shower night kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was awesome, but we got to wrap up for the night.
Yep.
And we'll talk more tomorrow. We're getting an early start on our way back home. The night vision needs to start making its way back to the owners, and I have about 40 hours of video editing ahead of me. This year's Halloween adventure has certainly been one of the most fun and one of the most strange that we've ever done. Skinwalkers, ghosts, demons, and aliens. Are all of these similar concepts shared throughout human history just stories, or do they stem from somewhere? Throughout the course of time, tens of thousands of people claim to have experienced paranormal activity. Are the vast majority just fictional or simply misinterpreted? I would certainly assume so. But out of those tens of thousands of stories, if just one is true, then reality isn't as black and white as we like to think it is. This journey has been incredible, and the landscapes have been beautiful, and thank you for coming along. The gears are already turning on places that we can go next year. As always, thank you so much for watching, and feel free to check out my other adventure, off-road, and overland related content.